Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the show today. I am your host, Becky Auer, and today I'm so excited to have Ed Katz from Katnip Marketing. Ed is the managing principal at Katnip Marketing in Florida, New York City, and Connecticut. And he and his teams have won over 100 awards, which is incredible, including a 2020 International Telly Award and a 2020 Bernays Award for Best PR Campaign for Small Business in South Florida. So, Yahoo, Ed, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Great to be on, Becky. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, not a problem. It's my pleasure. Tell us, and the listeners out there, tell us a little bit about Katnip Marketing and how you're helping your clients, because it sounds like you're just doing incredible work.
Oh, thanks. We're a full service agency, so we cover a lot of different disciplines. So we're doing social media, we're doing website development. I was just before I got on the phone with you, I was going over a client's logo, getting it ready so it matches everything for the colors on the website. And we're doing traditional advertising, television, radio, actually even some print. Believe it or not, people are still using print and it can still be very effective. And also public relations, working on getting a story out for a small bank that's processing the PPP loans where the big banks haven't been able to get it done. So it's kind of a cool story there. And just got a nice hit for a local client on the CBS TV station here for a public relations story.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Well, I think people listening, and I have always been confused too about, there's a difference between public relations and advertising. Could you explain to the listeners what the difference is between those two things?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question because there is a lot of confusion about that. So advertising is much more simple and straightforward. You pay for space, time, airtime, and you determine what you want to say. You can completely create the message, the size, when it's going to run, where it's going to run. It can be targeted. Social media can be very well targeted, and as are the digital ads. With public relations, it's different. It's a media outlet carrying the story. So you have to get them to run it as close as possible to the way you want the story to be told, but there's no guarantees. They can use all or none of it. They can use a part of it, and sometimes it can actually be a part you're not happy with. It depends on the story and what the media outlet's agenda is. And that's, I'm being candid, because I've seen stories where I've read it and, you're wondering if the reporter was actually there. And then others where they nail it perfectly, get every facet to it, the nuances, and they tell it in a great way. So I've seen all different kinds, and all we do is we lead the horses to the water, so to speak, and then you hope they drink it, and it comes a favorable light for the client. But you can't always control it, and that's the risk with public relations. But it's also third-party credibility. So you've got a media outlet that is established and in general has good credibility, as opposed to an ad that people know it's paid for. So those are the basic differences.
Yeah, I appreciate that because you're right that if they're paying for it, people think, oh well, they're just placing an ad. But if a third party sets them off as authority or the experts, then it is that social proof, if you will, and it is a little bit more interesting.
Right.
I know that it's interesting because when I work with my people, I always say you want to be the authority and the expert, and how do you get there? So it's great that your company does that. Now, does Katnip Marketing, I mean, you did a whole bunch of different things: social media, websites, logo, print, public relations. Tell me a little bit about, as a small business owner, do you sit down with people and figure out what they need first, or what kind of, how does that process take place?
Right. Actually, usually what I like to do is kind of do a media audit. So I just take a look at their website. Excuse me one sec. Okay. Yeah, take a look at their website, their social media presence, and see their videos, any other content they've created, to get a sense of how they're perceived out by the general public or their target audience. Sometimes it's business to business, and actually a lot of cases it's business to business. So take a look at that, and then have a discussion with them on their goals, where they feel they are, what the direction is that they want to go to, so we can try to build the plan to get them from point A to point B in the most cost-efficient, practical way possible, and timeliness as well.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because people have limited time and limited money as small business owners, especially because you're wearing all the different, hats in a business. So I appreciate that. The audit sounds like a great way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it brings a lot of things out to the forefront that a lot of times the client didn't even realize that this has been kind of the way they're being perceived, because it's not what their intent is, but they may not have been as strict as far as following a plan and a course for how they're projecting their content, and how they're what kind of consistency they're using with it.
Ooh, I just love that you use the word consistency, because if there's nothing else people should do, it's be consistent in whatever they choose. And I'm sure that
right.
that you know that, and that you help them with that, because people just get busy. Business owners especially get so busy. But if they could at least commit to one thing a week, it could really help them.
That's right. And I actually have a conference call with a client this afternoon that I'm going to chastise them, because they promised they would be doing new content at least once or twice a month, and it's now been 2 months since their last post. So I'll be on their case about that.
Yeah. Cracking the whip. I like it. Now, tell me this. What types of businesses does Katnip Marketing specialize in helping? Or is it like a generic all small business owners, or what types of businesses?
Okay. Well, we're a full-service general agency. So overall, it just because of the way things have worked out, when success in one field, people tell about it, and then you kind of get more calls in that regard. So I'm working with actually right now 4 book authors, promoting their books and their writing and their social media content, and growing their presence online. There's one client we grew over a course of 3.5 years. When I first started with this award-winning author, she's a great lady, but she only had 123 followers on Facebook. We've now gotten her over 5,400, and that helped her get a book deal for her second book. So because the first thing a book publisher wants to know is, how big is your following on social media? So that's one example. Another is I work with some nonprofits. I've worked a lot in the arts and entertainment industry, which now obviously is a whole different ballgame because of the coronavirus, but that's something I've done consistently. Also working in healthcare, business to business services, worked with the insurance companies, even hospital and healthcare facilities. So several different fields, and done a lot with gaming, entertainment, and destination marketing for travel and leisure category as well.
Oh, that's great. So really anybody listening, it does sound, like you're more generalized, not just working like with dentists or something like that. So you're a good place to start for people.
Right. We're actually, working with a brand new steam cleaning business. That's, I think, very exciting, and we're just trying to push them to get going faster, because there's a lot of clients ready to use their services, and he's just got to get everything set to go. So that's what we're putting the finishing touches on with them right now.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, tell us or share with us something that, maybe most small business owners aren't doing to promote themselves that they can improve on. Do you have any quick tips to maybe our listeners out there?
Sure. Things that they should be on regularly as any kind of a business, LinkedIn is terrific. I know you know that. And also creating videos, putting them on your website and through social media, because, ever since Google bought YouTube, videos have become very high ranking for search. So it's important to have those out whenever you can. And like we were talking about before, consistency is important. Posting on social media on a consistent basis, but not all about your time. The key is, and you know this too, is being positioned as a subject matter expert in your field. So helping with helpful tips, posting those, and then once in a while, the goal is 4 posts that are helpful for everybody, and then 1 post where you kind of talk about yourself. It's a good rule of thumb.
Yep. And, look, everybody's busy, right? So whether they're struggling through the corona or, being, inundated with business through coronavirus right now, everybody still is busy. So Ed's company is great because can you handle the social media for them if they're so busy?
Yeah, actually, so I'm a virtual agency. My agency is virtual, whereas I have one employee besides myself, but most of the services I outsource to a dedicated, several different teams that are dedicated and work just for the clients. So, in other words, if I have a client, like for example, there's let's just say the bank, for example. All we're doing for them is public relations. They don't need the other services at this point, so that's fine. So that's all we're focusing on is public relations. I've got another client where we do their search engine optimization and digital ads and their social media posts. So I have 2 different teams, one that does the search engine optimization and the other that creates all the posts. But they're not paying for anything they don't need. Whereas a big agency with all the overhead, they're always trying to upsell to add in the services, bring in the rest of their team, especially if, the next couple of weeks, this department's going to be underutilized, so let's try to push those services. We don't have to do that. It's just whatever the client needs, no waste. We just get them the services they need, and we'll take care of them and help them with that. Like I was saying, some clients we do the social media for. This one I'm having the call with this afternoon, they wanted to do it themselves, but they're not doing it, so I got to kind of ride them a little bit. So that happens. Well, that happens. And I understand they're busy. I get it.
Right. And it certainly is nice to have kind of that accountability too. Like, look, you said you're going to do this. Obviously, you can't get to it. You know it, I know it. Let me help type of a thing. So it's nice that that you can do that as well. And I'm sure that they appreciate it because they know they should be doing it. They're the ones that probably told you. But it's nice you can do an a la carte type of a thing after your media audit, too, to, say what's important to you. Here's what I think you need. And then they can, pick and choose as they go. That's excellent. Excellent.
Right, exactly. And it's one of those things where we get plugged in as needed. So with one client, for example, we're only doing public relations. With another, they do the public relations in-house. We do all the advertising. So we don't do any public relations for them, and that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I've worked with all different kinds of teams over many, many years, so that's fine.
Yeah, very good, very good. Well, you shared a couple examples of small business success stories. Do you have any others that you're working with or that you've worked with in the past where you could share with the audience how you promoted their business more effectively using your services?
Sure. Actually, the one that won the Bernays Award for Best PR Campaign in South Florida for a small business was one of the book authors. She had just won a couple of awards. She writes humor, named Susan Goldfine, and her most recent book is called How to Complain When There's Nothing to Complain About. I love the title. She when she won the most recent couple of awards for humor, I contacted one of the arts reporters for the Palm Beach Post down here and told her the story, and she loved the story. So, because Susan is in her 70s, so this is her second major career. kind of taking off in her second career. So the writer loved it. She said, let's do an interview. And I said, great. And we talked about when the interview would happen, when it would come out in the paper. And we set up a bookstore appearance at the Palm Beach bookstore for a couple of days after the article was supposed to hit. And everything worked out great. The interview was terrific. The article came out online first. We put that out through social media. Then the article came out in the actual print edition of the paper. And 2 days after that, and it teased in the article, it teased the bookstore appearance. The bookstore closed at 5, and the appearance was for 5:30. And there was literally a line out the door that night for the bookstore appearance. And it was actually raining. And it was standing room only in the bookstore. And they didn't know how many books to stock. They stocked 40 and sold out of all of them in less than a half hour. So,
oh my gosh,
that was great. Right. So then they ordered more. And then after seeing the article, a regional women's accessories store with 6 stores down here, unfortunately, I can't remember the name of it now, but they ordered books for each of their stores after seeing the article too. So, and of course, she sold more online because of all the exposure. So it was very, very nice event. And she did sign the books. She talked to the people who came, and also did some readings of a couple of her essays. So that was one example. And another one a little briefly was a grand opening of a health food store. There was a chain that had problems because they were being picketed by a union that even put a giant 8-foot-high rat in front of the parking lot.
Oh,
so in order to actually go into the parking lot, you had to go past the picketers and the giant rat.
Oh, my gosh.
So it was a big story. So the news was covering it because of the union picketing it, because the store wasn't unionized and the union wanted it to be unionized, and there was all that. And they were like, the manager saying to me, we still have to get the store open in spite of this. What can we do? And I said, okay. We had a conference. We sat down with the managers, and they had a really good story because even though it was a chain, they carried a lot of local brands. And I said, let's talk about all the local brands you're carrying. And then, you know what, let's all bring some gift baskets and deliver them to the regional, to the disc jockeys at the local radio stations in the morning, and bring some to the train station and hit the commuters. And it worked out great. They had the time that chain had over 50 stores. Of course, we did some ads too, but the stories really hit well. In fact, one of the local papers had a picture of one of the people from the store bringing coffee out to the picketers. And we just got lucky with that. The paper actually caught a picture of that, bringing the store worker bringing coffee to the people picketing the store.
Wow.
That was just a lucky break. But we did tell them to do that, to treat them as friendly and kindly as possible. But it was a huge success. It was the biggest grand opening that chain ever had, and they were in talks with us to do all their grand openings when Whole Foods bought the chain.
Wow.
So, yeah, unfortunately, Whole Foods came and they were like, thanks very much. You did a great job, but we have our own team for all the grand openings, so we're all set. Thanks. But it was a great success story, and the store is still one of their top stores in the Northeast.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow, that's a good story. I would be devastated if I saw a big rat in front of my place that I'm trying to get open as a small business owner. You're like, please,
right.
Just let me be.
Right. Yeah.
Well, sure.
It adds a little difficulty, right, to grand
Oh my
opening.
gosh. Yeah. I think it adds a lot of difficulties. Oh, I can just picture it. It just makes my skin crawl. As I'm sure it made theirs crawl. Well, tell us, I'm sure there are some, little known pitfalls or common mistakes that, you see small business owners make, when they start to try and promote their businesses themselves and try and do it effectively. Do you have any of those mistakes that you see happen time and time again?
Yeah, good question. There usually it happens when there's no real plan in place. They know sort of a general goal, but they haven't even put it down into terms of specifics. So when I meet with them, we try to iron that out and put a plan together for, this month and then 3 months, 6 months, a year from now. and try to orchestrate the whole thing together, because ideally the advertising and the public relations work together. Whether I'm doing one part or all of it, the key to work quickly so the client gets the benefits, because all the individual parts kind of make a bigger whole. So that's important, and then again, being consistent with what they're doing, which we keep talking about because it is so important. But having a marketing plan overall that incorporates advertising, social media, the website, public relations, and ways to generate leads is critical.
Yeah, very good. Well, it sounds like you've been doing this a while. What's something that inspired you? Like, how did you want to become, an owner or, marketing principal of an advertising agency? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay. Well, I was at Syracuse University with a dual major. My dad and I made an agreement because I wanted to be a film major, and he said, that's great, but do a practical thing too. Find a place where you can go to that has a business school and take a business major. So at Syracuse, I was able to major in marketing in their business school, which is now the Whitman School of Business, and in Newhouse School of Communications for Film. And initially started working at a cable company, a brief stint at a radio station, and then working at a couple of local TV stations. I learned the media from the inside, but I was only seeing one way that clients could be helped by the different media. So I thought it'd be great to be able to be objective and work overall with all media and see what makes the most sense for each client, what's the most cost efficient, where they can get the most exposure for their money. It was able to transition from basically working inside the media to working for clients using the media, starting out as a media buying service and then expanding to incorporate creative services and public relations and just growing.
Well, that's amazing. And so how long have you been doing this?
Well, the first agency I had with a business partner. That was 15 years. And then our largest client was the Connecticut Lottery, which I had been overseeing the account. I got them to renew, and then that was a good time for me to sell, because I found at the agency I was spending more time managing staff than actually managing the client accounts. And I really didn't want to be an HR person. That wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right.
So, yeah, this is better. So I sold my half of the business and immediately opened Katnip Marketing, and that's been over a decade now, actually just 12 years.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah, that's exciting. I hear you on the HR side. I had 108 employees at my last, brick and mortar restaurant, and it was a lot. So I'm with you. I like the creative and the development and, the fun part, which is, the marketing and all the media stuff. So I feel your pain on that one.
Yeah. I mean, we just had 20, but it was tough. It was still tough. And there were other factors too, but plus it was an hour away. And so anyway, it was a good time to sell and do it more closer to home. And then a little over a year and a half ago, we moved the business down here to Florida, and very happy.
Heck yeah. Who wouldn't be happy in Florida year round? I'm just saying. Well, tell me this. Do you have a lesson maybe that you learned while you were either going through school or your first agency that you learned kind of early on that still impacts, how you do business today?
Well, one of the things I do is crisis communications work too. It's not something I do put it on the website, but I don't feature it prominently because it's high stress, high tension work. But what I would say is it takes years to build a good reputation, but it can be destroyed in moments. And having worked with clients, I've seen that up close, and I've seen the effects of it, and it's very tough. So whether the client, did something incorrect or one of their employees did, which is more often the case, the damage still has to be worked on, and it's tough. It's tough work. So it's really important to always consider the reputation of your firm as you grow and make the decisions looking at the big picture and how you're going to be perceived by your clients and the world in general.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I think small business, I've seen it. I've seen them go through it. I'm seeing it right now on social media play out with a local artist here that, is exactly what's happening. So I love that you mentioned that. And I love that you can handle that, and that, most people don't think of it until it's too late, and then the damage is already done. So
that's
I
right.
so appreciate, you mentioning it, and that, it's something that people should really, think about and have a plan for if something happens.
Right.
You're right. It happens in a second.
Right. I did a crisis communications plan for a client just a couple months ago. So it is something that, nobody wants to have to talk about, but it's better if you've got everything in place, that you just have to follow the playbook when something actually does happen. You don't have to write the playbook while it's happening.
Yes, right, because you're so stressed out anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Well, tell me this. What do you think is the most important question small business owners should ask themselves as they consider promoting their businesses more effectively?
Well, there's a couple parts to that. Realistically, the first question would be, what's the goal for their business? And looking, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years. And then what are they willing to commit to achieve it, to reach those goals? So that's important. And I think if you don't have the plan, you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, and that's always dangerous.
Right. It can certainly make things a lot harder if you don't have some type of system or some type of plan to follow. So that's great advice. And tell me,
right?
This, so
setting a realistic goal is important.
That 100%. Even just like the people that you're mentioning now, they're like, yeah, we're going to post 3 times a day. Well, when you start to do that, you're like, well, what do I post? How am I supposed to do all this? You know what I mean? And there's everything else. So I hear you, and I appreciate that. So it's good to, it's always good to have people, kind of backing you up and holding you accountable as you go. Now, when people are evaluating, picking an advertising agency or a PR firm, what do you think, what's the most important thing that they should consider when they're making that decision?
Well, it's important to look at the track record of the agency with clients, ideally in a similar industry, or if not in a similar industry, trying to target the same type of clients, same type of customers for their particular business. So what's the track record they have with that? Another is obviously awards, but what I've really seen with awards is a lot of them really just focus on creative execution, no consideration of how the results were. I mean, I don't get that, but that tends to be it. Like, oh, it looks beautiful. Well, did it work? That's the most important thing. So I'm happy to say that many of our awards are for overall marketing results. So that's important, and I think that's always something anyone should consider when they're looking at hiring an agency.
Yeah, I love that, because lights don't put money in your bank, but if you get results that you see profits, going into the bank, that certainly is much more motivating, because people are like, well, I just want more likes on my Facebook page. And I'm like, well, why? Why would you want
Yeah, right. What's that going to do for you? Yeah.
Right. Don't you want more money in the bank? I think that's what all small business owners want, but they don't exactly know how to say that. So I appreciate that you said results.
Right.
Well,
that's actually our tagline is hashtag real results.
There you go, because that's what everyone that's out there listening should want. Is you're right. It's great to get an award, and it's great to get more likes, but if you're not getting results from whatever that thing is that you need someone to do or for you to do yourself, it ain't working. So you need to find somebody like Ed and like Katnip Marketing, to be able to set those goals for you and set out a plan for 1 year, 3 year, 5 years. So I really, really have enjoyed talking to you today, Ed, and thank you so much for sharing all of your, knowledge and background with our audience. If somebody wants to find out more about you, Ed, Katz, and Katnip Marketing, and how you can help them, where should they go?
Our website is easy to find. It's Katnip with a K, katnipmarketing.com. There's ways to contact me right there. I also have a LinkedIn page on linkedin.com. It's Edward Katz with the number 1. Edward Katz 1 is my LinkedIn page. And that's it, katnipmarketing.com.
Very good. Well, I'm sure you'll be getting some calls from people listening to our show today. Is there anything else you want to share or add that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
One other thing, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. A lot of people don't know this. Doing advertising, when it's certain types of media like television, radio, cable, the advertising for that is generally free of charge. The commission part is free of charge to the client. The TV, radio, and cable companies give agency discounts. So that's where the agency commission comes from, is them. It's kind of like the way travel agents, I don't know if they still work that way, but used to work, whereas you don't pay them extra. You get the expertise of them planning the travel, or in this case, your marketing, and you don't pay anything extra for it. It comes from the travel company, or in this case, the media outlets is where you get the commission from. So now it's not true of all media. With print and with digital, it's not true. But it is true in general with television, cable, and radio. So you get the media planned for you and executed for free. So as opposed to you trying to figure out what makes sense yourself, you can get the benefit of someone with a couple decades of experience doing it for you.
You know what? I did not know that. So that is a great tidbit that you just shared there. So you get the commissions from the news stations or the radio where you're placing people's ads. The people placing that ad don't have to pay for that service.
The clients don't pay extra, right?
They don't pay extra for that. Wow. Yeah. No, did not know that. That's awesome. I'm so glad you shared that too. That's a great tidbit to know as people move forward and look for different agencies to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, very good. Well, thank you so much for being on our show today. That is a wrap for this episode. If you have interest, please reach out to Ed Katz and Katnip Marketing. He is a wealth of knowledge and years of experience. My name's Becky Auer, and I can't wait to see you in the spotlight.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.